trade talks between the United States and India are once again in the spotlight. These discussions are critically important for both nations. For India, a strong trade relationship with the world's largest economy is vital for its own economic growth and its ambition to become a global manufacturing hub. For the United States, India represents a massive and growing market of over 1 billion people. It is also a key strategic partner in the Indo-Pacific region, making a stable economic relationship more crucial than ever. The success or failure of these talks will have far-reaching consequences, shaping not just economic futures, but also geopolitical alignments in a rapidly changing world. The recent round of discussions was led by high-level officials from both governments. The meetings took place in New Delhi, India's capital, signaling a serious intent to engage directly and find common ground. Leading the American delegation was the U.S. Trade Representative, who came to the table with a clear mandate from Washington. The Indian side was represented by its Commerce Minister, tasked with defending India's economic interests while seeking a path to a stronger partnership. The location of these talks in India was significant, allowing for direct and focused conversations away from the daily political noise of Washington, D.C., and placing the responsibility squarely on both sides to make progress on key issues. The timing of these negotiations adds to their importance. They are happening against a backdrop of global economic uncertainty. Supply chains are being redrawn, and countries are reassessing their trade dependencies. Both the US and India see an opportunity to deepen their economic ties as a way to build resilience and create new opportunities for their businesses and workers. A successful trade deal would send a powerful signal to the rest of the world about the strength of the U.S. India partnership. It would demonstrate their shared commitment to a rules-based international order and their ability to work through complex disagreements for mutual benefit. Therefore, what happens in these closed-door meetings in Delhi matters immensely. It is not just about tariffs or market access. It is about defining the next chapter of a relationship between two of the world's largest democracies. The outcome will influence everything from the price of goods in American stores to the creation of jobs in Indian factories. The stakes are incredibly high, and the world is watching closely to see if these two giants can bridge their differences and forge a new economic path together. The talks are a test of diplomacy, economic strategy, and the very foundation of their strategic partnership. The path to the recent talks in Delhi has not been smooth. The relationship has faced significant challenges, creating a tense atmosphere that these new discussions aim to repair. A major point of friction was the United States' decision to impose tariffs on certain Indian goods. This move was part of a broader American strategy, but had a direct impact on Indian exporters. The tariffs were seen in New Delhi as a punitive measure that complicated an already complex trade dynamic. They created economic uncertainty for Indian businesses and were perceived as an obstacle to the free and fair trade that both countries publicly advocate for. Adding to the complexity was India's decision to purchase oil from Russia. From India's perspective, this was a pragmatic choice driven by national interest. With global energy prices soaring, securing affordable oil was essential to manage inflation and meet the energy needs of its vast population. The Indian government argued that as a developing nation, it had to prioritize its energy security and economic stability. This decision, however, put it at odds with the United States, which was leading a global effort to isolate Russia economically. This fundamental clash of priorities, America's geopolitical goals versus India's economic necessities, became a major source of strain. These issues created a difficult environment for diplomacy. The tariffs and the Russian oil purchases were not just minor disagreements, they represented a divergence in strategic and economic priorities. The United States expected its partners to align with its foreign policy, while India asserted its right to make independent decisions based on its own needs. This standoff tested the limits of their partnership and led to a period of cooled relations. The trade disputes threatened to overshadow the many areas where the two countries cooperate, from defense to technology. It was clear that without direct intervention, the relationship was at risk of drifting further apart. The recent talks, therefore, are an attempt to hit the reset button. Both sides recognized that allowing these disagreements to fester was not productive. The trade friction was starting to impact the broader strategic partnership, which neither Washington nor New Delhi wanted. The decision to sit down and talk represents a mutual understanding that dialogue, not unilateral action, is the only way forward. The discussions in Delhi were a crucial opportunity to address these recent problems head-on, clear the air, and find a way to move past the tensions that had defined their relationship in recent months. When negotiators from the United States and India sit across the table, They bring distinct sets of demands and expectations. India's primary goal is to protect its domestic industries, particularly in sensitive sectors like agriculture and small-scale manufacturing. These sectors employ hundreds of millions of people, and any trade deal that harms them would be politically and socially catastrophic for the Indian government. Therefore, India is pushing for the continuation of certain protections and tariffs, arguing that its smaller businesses and farmers need time to become globally competitive. They are not against opening their markets, but they want to do so at a pace that does not disrupt their domestic economy. On the other side of the table, the United States has a clear agenda. Washington wants greater access to India's massive market for American companies. A key demand is for India to purchase more American goods, especially in the energy sector, such as oil and liquefied natural gas. This would help reduce the U.S. trade deficit with India and support American jobs in the energy industry. Furthermore, the U.S. is pushing for lower tariffs on a range of its products, from agricultural goods like almonds and apples to medical devices and technology products. The American objective is to create a more level playing field for its businesses to compete in India. The negotiation is essentially a balancing act between these competing interests. India seeks to safeguard its vulnerable populations and nascent industries, while the U.S. aims to unlock new commercial opportunities for its powerful corporations. For example, while the U.S. wants India to lower barriers for its tech giants, India is keen on developing its own digital economy and may want to retain certain data localization rules. Similarly, while the U.S. pushes for more agricultural exports, India must consider the impact on its own farmers, who form a significant and influential voting bloc. These are the core tensions that the negotiators must resolve. Finding a middle ground will require creativity and compromise from both sides. A potential solution could involve a phased approach, where India gradually opens its markets over several years, giving its domestic industries time to adapt. In return, the U.S. might get commitments for large-scale purchases of American energy and defense equipment. The talks are not just about a simple exchange of concessions. They are about structuring a deal that allows both countries to achieve their primary objectives without sacrificing their core interests. The success of the Delhi talks will depend on whether negotiators can find this delicate and elusive balance. Beyond the formal negotiations and complex trade data, personal relationships between leaders often play a crucial role in international diplomacy. This was recently highlighted by a phone call between U.S. President Donald Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The call, initiated by President Trump to wish the Prime Minister a happy birthday, was more than a simple courtesy. In the world of high-stakes geopolitics, such gestures are carefully planned and carry significant weight. It was a clear signal from the White House of a desire to warm up a relationship that had become frosty due to trade disputes. This personal outreach helps to cut through bureaucratic red tape and shows a commitment from the very top. The friendly tone of the conversation provided a much-needed dose of optimism. Both leaders are known for their personal style of diplomacy, and this call reaffirmed the connection they have built over the years. By engaging directly, they set a positive and cooperative tone for their respective negotiating teams. When leaders express confidence in finding a solution, it empowers their officials to be more flexible and creative at the bargaining table. The phone call effectively created a more favorable atmosphere for the difficult discussions happening in Delhi, reminding everyone that despite the disagreements, a foundation of mutual respect and friendship remains. This act of personal diplomacy is particularly important in the context of the recent tensions. After months of tough talk on tariffs and trade policy, a simple, friendly conversation can help de-escalate the situation. It shifts the narrative from one of conflict to one of collaboration. For both domestic and international audiences, it projects an image of two leaders who are determined to work together to overcome challenges. It suggests that the strategic partnership is more important than any single trade issue, and that both sides are willing to invest personal political capital to preserve it. This is a powerful message that can help build momentum towards a final agreement. While a single phone call cannot solve deep-seated economic disagreements, its symbolic value should not be underestimated. It serves as a reminder that politics is ultimately about people. The call between President Trump and Prime Minister Modi provided a hopeful sign that both leaders are personally invested in steering the U.S. India relationship back on a positive track. It laid the groundwork for their negotiators to engage in more productive dialogue with the clear backing and goodwill of their bosses. This personal touch might just be the catalyst needed to break the impasse and pave the way for a new chapter in their economic partnership. The trade talks between the United States and India are not happening in a vacuum. They are deeply embedded in a complex and shifting global landscape. Other major powers and international issues cast a long shadow over the discussions in Delhi. For instance, the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the resulting Western sanctions on Russia are a constant factor. The U.S. is focused on maintaining a united front against Moscow, which influences its expectations of partners like India. At the same time, India is navigating its long-standing relationship with Russia, particularly in defense and energy, creating a delicate diplomatic balancing act. Furthermore, the European Union is another significant player in this geopolitical equation. Both the US and India are simultaneously engaging with the EU on trade. India is reportedly close to finalizing its own trade agreement with the European bloc, which could give it more leverage in its negotiations with Washington. If India secures favorable terms with the EU, it might be less willing to make major concessions to the US. This multi-front trade diplomacy means that a deal with one partner can directly influence the negotiations with another, creating a web of interconnected interests and rivalries. Despite these complexities and recent frictions, the fundamental basis for the U.S.-India partnership remains remarkably strong. The two nations are the world's largest democracies and share core values and strategic interests, particularly in ensuring a free and open Indo-Pacific. They cooperate extensively on defense, counterterrorism, and technology. This deep-rooted strategic alignment provides a solid foundation that can withstand temporary economic disagreements. Both sides understand that their long-term partnership is too valuable to be derailed by trade disputes, which is why they continue to seek a resolution with such determination. Looking ahead, the path is one of cautious optimism. The positive signals from the Delhi talks and the friendly engagement between the leaders suggest a genuine will to find a solution. The next steps will likely involve more rounds of detailed negotiations, where officials will work to translate the broad political goodwill into a concrete trade agreement. A possible outcome could be an initial smaller deal that addresses some of the key irritants, paving the way for a more comprehensive agreement later. Ultimately, the strength of their shared democratic values and strategic goals provides the best hope that the US and India will successfully navigate these challenges and reaffirm their status as natural partners on the world stage.